14.3 Session Plans, Session and Program Reviews. Program Aims. The short-term goal is to improve my client's balance and the long-term goal is to improve overall endurance. The specific session aims are to improve muscular endurance and balance, be polite to my client and make her feel comfortable, and to make sure my client uses correct techniques for each activity. How are these aims specific to client aims and how will they be measured to check for success? These aims are specific to the client aims as I've used exercises which will improve the components of fitness that she said she wanted to enhance. I'll be doing tests every 2 weeks for balance, muscular endurance and cardiovascular endurance to see whether my client is improving. For the session names, I'll do a review to see if I have reached these targets. Risk assessment. First hazard is that necklace or earrings could get caught on pieces of equipment and injure the participant. The people at risk are the participant, and the controls to be in place is to tell the participants to take off all their jewellery before doing the tests. The actions necessary is to, if it is not possible to take out jewellery, then tape can be used instead. The next hazard is that participants could pull a muscle or get injured during the test. The people at risk are the participant, and the controls to be in place are to make sure to do a warm-up and cool-down and demonstrate the techniques for each exercise. The actions necessary is to make sure to have a first aid kit and emergency contact numbers nearby. The next hazard is someone could slip over and hurt themselves. People at risk for this are everyone, and the controls to be in place are if the weather conditions aren't good enough, then find somewhere indoors or do it another day. Actions necessary are to make sure everyone wears correct footwear and keep first aid kit close by. The next hazard is that someone may trip over on something. The people at risk of this are participants, and the controls will be in place to make sure that bags and coats are out of the way or in another room. The actions necessary are to keep participants organised and to make sure to have a first aid kit close by. The next hazard is that inappropriate use of equipment may occur, and the people at risk are everyone. Controls to be in place are to keep an eye on the participant and make sure that they know how to use the equipment correctly. The actions necessary for this are to give participants a demonstration beforehand and keep a first aid kit close in case someone hurts themselves on a piece of equipment. Finally, someone might collide with objects in the way. People at risk of this are participants, and controls to be in place are to move any chairs or benches out of the way before the session. The actions necessary for this are to make sure to have a first aid kit close by and set up activities where there is enough space so participants have enough room to slow down if it is a running exercise. I did a PAR-Q test with my client to see if she has had any medical issues since the last time I saw her, to make sure nothing has changed and to see if it is safe for her to take part in the training program. Here I compared my client's resting heart rate, resting blood pressure, peak flow results and BMI to the average results to see how healthy she is at the start of the program. The location of my session will be in the sports hall and the facilities needed will be one badminton court. The warm-up will include a ladder, hurdles and a sandbag. The main activity will include dumbbells, kettlebells, battle ropes, a stopwatch, a mat and a skipping rope, and the cool-down will just use resistance bands. Health and safety considerations are that before the session I'll make sure all jewellery is taken off or taped, and I'll see if my client is wearing correct clothing and footwear, as if they aren't then it could cause an injury as jewellery could get caught on equipment or other objects, and if she is not wearing appropriate shoes then she could slip and hurt herself. During the session I will make sure correct technique is used, and if activities are too hard I'll make them easier because I don't want to cause a burnout as it could lead to injuries and also demotivation, which could mean that the training program won't be as effective as it could have been. After, I will put equipment away safely for other people to use. Emergency procedures and contingency plan. If an injury occurs, I will find the nearest member of staff who knows first aid, phone an ambulance straight away if it is serious, and then go straight to the storeroom and get a first aid kit. If there is a fire alarm, I'll look for the nearest fire exit, which will be at each end of the sports hall, and guide the clients out safely. If there is unavailable space, I will ask my participant if they would be happy to do the session outside. Issues arising from risk assessment. Watch participant when they are using equipment, because if they are using it wrong or not being sensible, then it may hurt themselves or another person. I also watch their techniques so they don't do something that they could injure them. and I'll make sure participant isn't wearing inappropriate clothing, footwear or jewellery. Exercise session content. Introduction. Firstly, I will greet my client and ask if they are feeling alright. I'll behave responsibly, but will try not to be too serious and show a good sense of humour so my client feels comfortable and at ease. I will also ask if there have been any problems with Beth's health or fitness since the last time I saw her, just in case, as it could cause serious issues if she doesn't tell me. I will then give her a brief summary of the components of the session, and then I will start the warm-up. The warm-up will start with a slow jog to raise the pulse so that oxygen is travelling to the working muscles faster through the blood. Then I'll do dynamic stretches while the muscles are starting to warm up so they're more pliable for the training session. I will then use ladders and hurdles to prepare the leg muscles for forceful contractions which will happen in the activity. I'll do some exercise with sandbags to get the arm, shoulder and chest muscles warmed up, and I'll finish with some static stretches whilst all the muscles are still hot to increase flexibility of the muscles to reduce the risk of injury in the session. Main content. The activities or drills. For each activity in the main content, I will demonstrate the correct technique for them so they can have a mental image of how it should be done, and then I will ask them to show me quickly so that I can see they understand. If they are doing an activity on the floor, I will try to give her some space so I'm not looking down on her as it could make her feel uncomfortable. The activities that I'll be doing are skipping, lateral raises, squat jumps, Russian twists, step-ups and battle ropes, and for each I'll try to give specific coaching points which I will explain below. These activities will be completed 3 times. Skipping. This will be for 1 minute and the technique for this will be a 2-footed hop each time while staying on the same spot. The purpose of this exercise is to improve muscular endurance in the gastrocnemius and also the quadriceps and hamstring. By strengthening the leg muscles, it will improve balance as well because there is more support in the legs. Lateral raises. She will have to do this for 30 seconds with 2.5 kg dumbbells, and it will help to improve muscular endurance in the triceps muscles as she will be doing continuous muscle contractions. The coaching points for this are keeping a straight back, have weights in each hand at your side. When lifting the weights, tighten the core, slightly bend the elbow, bring the weights up to the side until your arms are parallel with the floor, and then slowly bring the weights back to the side. Squat jumps. She will have to do 20 squat jumps, which will improve strength, power, and muscular endurance in the legs. It will also improve balance as the leg muscles will be able to support her body weight better. For squat jumps, you have to start off by doing a normal squat whilst keeping your back straight and making sure the knee joint is at a right angle. And then you have to explosively jump as high as you can, and when you land, you need to go straight back into a squat and jump again. Russian twists. This will be for 45 seconds using a 5 kg kettlebell. To start with, you must sit on the floor with your legs slightly bent and feet raised off the floor. Then you hold the kettlebell with 2 hands while sitting up, and then twist your body to each side whilst touching the kettlebell on the floor. This is a good way to improve the strength and muscular endurance of the abdominal muscles. Step-ups. This will be for 30 seconds and the technique is fairly simple as all you need to do is put one foot onto a bench or box and then step up with the other foot so both feet are placed on the object, and then you step back down 1 foot at a time. This will help to improve muscular endurance in the leg muscles and provide more support to improve balance. Battle ropes. This is for 20 seconds you must have slightly bent knees and then hold each end of the rope in each hand, and then with your arms out in front of you, alternately swing your hands up and down to whip the rope. This will improve muscular endurance in the arm and legs. Cool down and plenary. I will tell them that they have done them very well and worked extremely hard to keep them motivated, and then I will allow them to get a quick drink before the cool down begins. Firstly, my client will do a slow jog to keep the blood flowing around the body at a quite fast pace so waste products can be removed from the muscles. Then I'll do some dynamic stretches followed by some exercise with a resistance band to cool down the arm muscles. Then I'll get my client to come over to me and I'll demonstrate some static stretches for the whole body that she will copy. Whilst doing the stretches, I will ask her how she thought the training session went and if she thought it was too easy or hard. I'll then ask questions about the techniques used in the activities to see if she understands them. For example, I could ask her whether her back needs to be straight or not during a squat jump, which she should answer yes. Ending the session. I will then ask my client to help me put the equipment away safely. I will direct her to where everything needs to go and I'll make sure to help her carry anything that is heavy or difficult to carry, such as battle ropes. Then I'll thank her for her time and tell her I'm looking forward to the next session. So, session evidence. The first specific session aim was to improve muscular endurance and balance, and I have done this by putting in specific exercises to improve these components of fitness, as they either involve continuous muscle contractions or strengthen the leg and core muscles to improve support for her balance. I've also said that I want to be polite to my client and make her feel comfortable. I did this by greeting her appropriately and then used friendly small talk to create a positive atmosphere between us. I then use some humour to make her feel more comfortable around me so she knows that she can relax and feel safe when she is working with me, so she will put more effort in and stay motivated. Finally, my last session aim was to make sure my client used the correct techniques for each activity. I achieved this by giving her a demonstration of the technique so she could recreate it by having a mental image of the technique. Then, while she was doing each exercise, I made sure to tell her if she was not following my coaching points, and then I told her how to improve her technique so she didn't keep doing it wrong. Client feedback. My client said that she thought the session was planned well, as there was enough variation in the exercises and breaks were put in appropriately so that Beth had enough time to recover, as I don't want to cause a burnout. She also said that exercises were specific to her targets, which is good as it means that she will reach her goal by the end of the training program, as she will be improving quickly. Another thing was that she thought the duration of each exercise was appropriate to her ability at this point of the training program, which is good as it means it wasn't too hard, so the exercise will be more effective as she can complete them. Also, it means that she won't burn out physically or mentally, so her motivation will stay high as she knows she can do it. Lastly, Beth said that I demonstrate the techniques quite well, which is good as it means she'll be able to copy it so the exercise will benefit her fitness more. Peer observer feedback. The peer observer said that the sessions were well planned and the exercise was specific to her targets, which is the same as what my client said, which is a good thing as it shows that I did this very well. However, he also said that the demonstrations of the techniques could have been more precise, which is important as it means that the client might not have done the technique perfectly each time, which can affect how effective the exercises are and how fast my client will improve. My first strength is that I demonstrated each technique, so my client had a mental image of how it should be done, which is important because it means that she'll be able to reenact the demonstration when she does the exercises. This will mean that each exercise will help her to improve more, and it decreases the chance of her injuring herself, as using the wrong technique can cause strain on different muscle groups and bones. My next strength is that I critiqued my client's technique as she was doing the activity so that the exercise would be more effective, and also for the same reason as before, as it means she is less likely to injure herself. Another strength was that I spoke clearly, which is important because if my client can't hear what I'm saying when I'm giving coaching points, then she may do something that I specifically said not to, which could result in me getting in trouble and/or my client getting injured. Lastly, I made my client feel comfortable by using humour and friendly conversation, which is important as it means my client may have more motivation as some people don't feel comfortable with exercise in front of others. This will mean that she'll be able to improve faster and she'll be able to communicate with me a lot easier about any problems she has. My first area for improvement is that I could have positioned my body a bit lower when my client was on the floor, as it could seem quite intimidating and patronising if I just looked down there. So next time I'll crouch down to get closer to eye level. My second area of improvement is that I could have given a few more coaching points for each technique because some of the demonstrations were a bit vague, and it could mean that she could miss out on key elements of the technique, which could make the exercises less effective. Finally, I didn't check to see if my client was wearing any jewellery at the start of the session, which could have caused an injury, so it was important that I remembered to do this at the start of each session to avoid any safety hazards. My client's short-term goals was to improve her balance. She achieved this target because at week 3 her stalk stand results were much higher than her previous results. I improved her balance by making sure to put in exercises that strengthened the leg and core muscles, as it meant that she would have a lot more support and would be able to keep her centre of mass over base of support a lot better. Beth's long-term goals were to improve her muscular endurance and cardiovascular endurance. To improve her cardiovascular endurance, I put in a lot of aerobic exercises such as continuous training on a treadmill, rowing machine and exercise bike. By the end of the 6 weeks, her cardiovascular endurance improved dramatically as her yo-yo's test scores went from 14.1 to 16.5, which is over two levels higher and shows that she is almost excellent compared to normative data, which shows that she was able to reach her target. For muscular endurance, I use circuit training predominantly